Hi YouTube, it's me, Zipster. I gotta tell you, man, you know the old saying, what doesn't kill you just makes you stronger? Today was another one of those tests. Okay, wake up this morning to a phone call. It's my brother-in-law. He's not sounding so good. I'm like, what's up? He said, I'm just calling to tell you that Zipperella was in a serious car accident. I'm like, okay, where is she? So he tells me, so I blow over to the hospital. I come in, she's in a neck brace. She's like, she's a mess. So the little scrub lady, she was like the surgical assistant, or I don't know. They all have special names there, and I don't get what any of them do. They all, I don't know. Anyway, so she comes in and she's like, okay, this is the story, you know, because they did like a whole body scan and all that stuff. Because, okay, she's on her way to work this morning at 5:30, and she's crossing an intersection, and a truck comes and plows into the side of her van, you know, right into like the driver's side door. So pretty much the whole right side of her body is like smashed, you know. So I walk in the, first I walk into the hospital room. I go over, I kiss her on the head, and I said, I love you. And she said, I love you too. And then she said, am I going to be able to do my show this weekend? Because she's been rehearsing. She's in a local theater version of My Fair Lady, right? I looked at her. I'm like, I don't think you're going to be performing in any kind of musicals this weekend, my dear. So, okay, so then the little lady in the scrubs comes in and she's like, okay, this is the story. She says, you know, mild concussion. She broke her this cervical, clavicle, shoulder bone, whatever this is called, collarbone. But there's a real name for it, but I don't know. She broke that. Okay, they found hairline fractures in her arm. She broke a bunch of ribs. Her pelvis, she cracked her pelvic bone or whatever, a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, but the good news is she said, you know, the surgery isn't going to be necessary. This is going to mend itself. The ribs, of course, have to mend themselves, and the pelvis is hairline fractures, you know, all this, you know, but it's going to, you know, it's like, you know, weeks of therapy, and great. So, you know, I hung around for a while with her, and, you know, she was kind of dozing off and coming back and dozing off. So I had like a whole bunch of stuff to do. And, you know, Zoe was there, and Mikey B was there, and so I left to do my business. So I came home. Meanwhile, Zelda is like down and out with a cold for the last 3 days. She sounds terrible. She looks even worse. So I'm like, okay, give me a list. I'll go do the grocery shopping by myself. Because usually on a Tuesday I take her to do the grocery shopping. Okay, fine. So she's like, well, you have to go to Redner's because they have 12 packs of Coke there for $11. That's the best price you're going to. No matter how sick she is, she's always looking for a bargain. So I go to the grocery store, load up the whole station wagon with groceries. On my way home, I'm 3 blocks from home. 3 blocks, mind you. Stop at a stop sign. Great, no problem. Start going to the intersection. I hear some kind of a cracking or something. I don't know what happened. The car comes to a dead stop right in the middle of the freaking intersection. Great. So I'm like, what the hell? You know, it sounded, I didn't know if a tire blew or what, but it's like, man, even if a tire blew, the car should still either move forward or backwards. So I get out of the car, flashers on, you know, milk and ice cream in the back, of course. 78 degrees here today. Hey, perfect. Get out of the car. I look, the front tires, the front driver's side tire is fine. I walk around. The front passenger side tire is fine. I look at the back tires. Everything's fine. It's like, what the hell? So I walk around to the front of the car again, and I'm looking at it, you know, like something don't look right here. So, okay, then I figured it out. The driver's side tire is pointing in this direction, and the passenger side tire is pointing in this direction. So, yeah, the car didn't want to go anywhere because it couldn't figure out where to go. I'm like, oh, perfect. So I know nothing. I mean, less than nothing about cars, except how to, like, I could put gas in one and I could change a tire. That's about it. Okay, so I'm finally like putzing around, and I realize, okay, when I turn my steering wheel, the driver's side tire still steers, but the passenger side tire just kind of willy-nilly goes wherever the hell it wants. Okay, great. So I'm like, I gotta get out of this freaking intersection. So I'm like physically moving like the passenger side tire in a direction I kind of want it to go. You know? So I'm like pushing it and I'm kicking it. I finally get it so they're both going in the same direction, so I can like pull out of the intersection. Great. So I get in, I drive like 3 feet, and all of a sudden the passenger side tire just goes willy-nilly again, and I'm stuck again. So after about, 40 minutes of like kicking the tire and making it go in the right direction, I finally like get parked in kind of a spot. Perfect. Great. So I go home, I get Tim's car, go back, get all the groceries, take them home, put them in the refrigerator, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like, okay, I got to go back up to Manny's place. Manny and Betty, I told you about them before. because I wanted to go give them the heads up before I called AAA. Fine. So I go up there, and they're like, oh, man. He's like, oh, what's the matter now? Is it the Ford? I'm like, well, yeah, that's the one I'm not driving, ain't it? And he's like, yeah. He said, you know what Ford stands for? I'm like, what? He's like, fix or repair daily. I thought there was a real riot. So I gave him a heads up, went home, called AAA. And usually you call AAA and they're like, you give them your number, your membership number, and they're like, oh, hi, it's Mr. Blah, 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 you live at blah, 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 you have which car is it? Is it the convertible or is it the station wagon, But I got like the dope of the world. She's like, and what's your name? And I'm like, don't you have it in the computer? She's like, what's your name? So I told her. And she's like, and where is the car parked? And I told her. She's like, are you with the car? I'm like, no, I'm at home. Well, you have to be with the car when they come to pick it up. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I said, is it possible for them to call me like when they're on their way to the car or something? And because I'm 3 blocks away, I'll just get in my other car and I'll be right there. She's like, they will call you when they arrive at the scene and you have 5 minutes to be there. I'm like, no problem. I'm only 3 blocks away. She's like, okay, just so you know, you only have 5 minutes to be there. I'm like, okay, I'm only 3 blocks away. She's like, okay, they will be there between 1:17, which it was then. Like, so they weren't coming right then. I knew that. And 2:17. Okay, fine. So I'm sitting around the house, but it's making me crazy. It's like, so finally at like 2 o'clock, I just said, you know what, I'm going to just go over and sit and wait by the car. Oh, but wait a minute. Yeah, she had to tell me like 3 more times. Now, you have to be there within 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know, I'm only 3 blocks away. And she's like, yes, because they'll only wait for 5 minutes. And I'm like, they'll only wait for 10 minutes? She's like, no, they'll only wait for 5 minutes. And it's like, where did they get this girl? So I get over, the guy finally shows up. I'm like, how you doing? He's like, not so great. I'm like, you're not doing so great. Hello, I'm sitting here, my tires are going like this. You're not doing great. So anyway, big deal. They take it up to Manny. And Manny's like, oh, it's a tire iron. Tire, I never even heard something like that. A tire iron to me sounds like something you shoot golf with. I don't know from any of that. Fine. So drop the car off, blah. Come home, go back over to the hospital. By now, Zipporella is, she's going to be okay because she's starting to make jokes. But every time she laughs, she goes, oh, because everything hurts really bad. She's going to hurt really bad tomorrow. You heard the expression, it feels like I've been hit by a truck. Hello, she was. So, fine, I get home from the hospital. Now it's like 6 o'clock here. Now, I had my computer on all day. I've been online, all this stuff. I get home. I cannot get an internet connection. Oh, perfect. And I'm trying everything. Troubleshoot, do a repair, all this stuff. Nothing. So I ripped that damn computer apart, and I'm like ripping at it and put it all back together again. And I disconnected my cable modem box, and everything. I ripped like everything apart. Great. Plug it all back in, fire the bitch up. Nothing. No internet connection. Now I'm going crazy. So I decide what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my buddy Cappy, who's like my little kind of computer guru dude. I call him up. I'm like, okay, it says they cannot identify an IP, blah, blah, or my firewall or proxy setting is, blah. I don't understand any of that shit. And he's like, well, who's your cable with again? I'm like, RCN. He's like, oh yeah, RCN is down tonight. I'm like, well, isn't that just great? So I'm thinking to myself, what if I was like bidding on like this one of a kind, like Ming Dynasty kind of knick-knack or something that I knew was worth like $4,000. And I saw it on eBay, and the last price it had on it was like $2.67. So I put a bid of like $3 on it. And I'm thinking, oh, I can't believe nobody knows what this is. And I'm like, okay, cool. All of a sudden, my damn internet connection goes down, and then when it comes back up, although 4 hours later, I go to check this eBay auction, and it sold for $3.03. My high bid was $3. Now, can I turn around and sue my internet provider for all that money I would have lost when I sold it at an auction for $4,000? I don't think so. So that ain't right. They should give us some kind of a rebate or something. Then, okay, what happened after that? Then I finally get my internet connection back. Great. And I go to my email, and I filed my income taxes like electronically, like 2 days ago or something, because I tried to file it before, and it kept giving me error message. Okay, so I see this thing from the company that I filed my internet stuff with, and it said the Internal Revenue Service has rejected your return form. I'm like, oh my God, what else can go wrong today? So it's just been one of those, but I like to share with you. Thank you. What? Don't. kill you makes you strong. Bullshit.